sharing your thoughts. Next we have Suzanne Sherby. And when you come up here, the clock is right here, up here, so you can keep an eye on that. 10 minutes or less, please. Thank you.
I'm very happy to have an opportunity to say a few words today. My name is Suzanne Sherby. I'm the parent of 4 children, and I wanted to speak because I'm concerned that some aspects of the cost of Common Core may go unnoticed in today's meeting. Those would be the costs borne by families. I, like many parents, first took notice of Common Core when my children began bringing home some very different math homework. My children are at a blue ribbon school, which has a record of high achievement. And what we were seeing, in addition to some very fuzzy math, was a marked and very obvious lack of basic arithmetic. My husband and I knew that our boys would be in trouble if this were to be their only exposure to mathematics. We looked at other North Side schools and found that nearly all of them were adopting similar programs. So suddenly the idea of school choice meant very little. It seemed that Common Core was indeed common to every school. In 2012, I began to look for alternative ways to add some arithmetic into their lives. I enrolled my boys at Kumon, which specializes in math education through carefully sequenced practice of math drills. Kumon is very effective. It's also very costly. It's just about $100 a month per child, which puts the cost for providing an education in basic arithmetic for one child at nearly $1,200 a year. And I don't know if I mentioned I have 4. My boys benefited a great deal from the Kumon approach, which is very much like a one-room schoolhouse. Each skill is drilled to the point of mastery, and then the next logical step is introduced to the child. Command of addition leads to easy mastery of subtraction. Command of multiplication leads to easy mastery of division, and so forth. Unfortunately, our family was unable to bear the twofold cost of having to add mathematics outside of a very long school day. The first cost was time. We found that though we could force it in the summer months, the additional time required during the school year was just too much in light of athletic commitments and the need for family time. It was especially onerous for my youngest children. For instance, my son, who was beginning 2nd grade at the time, would have been sitting in school for over 7 hours at the point I had to tell him it was time to do another 20 or 30 minutes of practice drills that were not required or provided to him during the day in his Common Core aligned classroom. Secondly, in the end, the annual cost of over $4,000 to keep all the boys at Kumon was just too much for our family, and we had to discontinue it. So I would like you to consider that as a cost. What's left out of Common Core is something that families do bear a need to include. I'd like to share with you, though, that my neighbor, whose experience was very much like my own, also enrolled her daughter at Kumon in the same time frame. My neighbor's daughter is an only child, and their family was able to bear the financial burden as well as the time commitment. My neighbor's daughter has completely mastered multi-digit multiplication and division, and this week is moving into fractions. And this is easily possible when children spend 15 to 20 minutes a day performing just practice drills. My neighbor's daughter is 8 years old and in 3rd grade, just like one of my sons. And I'd like to share with you what my 3rd grade son was working on last week. This is his math test. He's in 3rd grade, as I said. This is 6 weeks into school, and he did well. I'm glad, because it's a very easy test. The first question requires the students to ascertain if you had 6 red tiles and 3 green tiles, how many tiles would you have? And he was able to, on this multiple choice test, determine that was 9. The next question has a picture drawn for you so that you can ascertain that 5 plus 6 is the same as 6 plus 5. And then at the bottom, we're back to the tiles, and my son was able to determine that 5 plus 2 is 7, again in a multiple choice format. This is some homework also from about 2 weeks ago, in which he's asked to draw a picture to I guess, solve the big problem of whether 12 minus 7 is 5. So I'd like to say this is the level of rigor that we have seen. And I'd like you to think of that when you hear the Common Core proponents speak about rigor. Having seen in my neighbor, and in fact in several friends' children, what is possible when kids spend just 15 to 20 minutes a day practicing operations, I am truly saddened to know what Indiana kids could be doing, and frankly appalled that the current state of affairs ensures that only families who can bear these heavy costs of outside intervention can ensure that their children will be truly well educated. Public education should seek to level the playing field, and the things that are missing in Common Core are effectively erecting barriers that most families will never overcome. There's an April 2011 report put out by Education Researcher. It's a cross-comparison of various state standards with the Common Core. The most interesting component of the report is a section they devote to comparing the Common Core standards to the standards of 3 countries with the highest math performance. That would be Finland, Japan, and Singapore. The section is titled International Benchmarking. Their finding is that those 3 countries dedicate 75% of their time to performing procedures or doing practice drills. And they found also that the Common Core reduces the amount of time spent performing procedure to 38%. And this merely confirms what parents such as myself knew instinctively without any studies, which is that our children will not become proficient under the pacing of Common Core. Which leads me to the third and most serious cost associated with these mediocre standards, and that would be opportunity cost. We hear so much talk of how American students are not prepared to handle the rigors of mathematics required for advanced degrees in science, technology, and engineering. And this is not surprising when you see experiments such as what we've had these last few years thrust, untried, into our classrooms. My neighbor's daughter is a very bright little girl. But I can tell you personally that there are many, many third graders who could achieve the same success that she has achieved if only they were given a chance. I've been following the standards debate for quite a while now, and I'm coming to the conclusion that this whole issue might merely be a testament to the vanity of ivory tower intellectuals. For certainly, Common Core developers would have looked to copy what students in high-performing countries are doing, instead of saddling our children with untried methods with very low potential for success. As a parent, I cannot afford to sit back and watch from a mile high to see which education trends will stick and which will end up on the ash heap as a failure. My child only gets 1 shot at 3rd grade, and he only has 1 chance to master the mathematics that he will need to be successful in any higher level endeavors. I sincerely hope that you will take these costs, which are somewhat difficult to quantify in terms of dollars and cents, into account. Indiana should reject the lesser standards of Common Core and use our autonomy to make our own standards truly excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, but if I can have your attention, please. This is a legislative meeting and no applause is appropriate in this chamber. Were there any questions for Suzanne?